Hello, Programming 11. We are continuing with the PewPew game, and I'm in the corner over here. I don't know. I just experimenting with it. Thought it might be fun. And I hope I'm not in the way. It's a nice thing about processing. It's all seems to be sort of over on this side, and leaves us some space over on my side. So I think this will work out. Let me know if it doesn't, if I'm blocking stuff. But anyways, we're working on the PewPew game. Here's what we got so far. Let's take a look and see. Wow, we got some bullets. It's there ricocheting, and that was a pretty nice ricochet in some interesting ways. And it's not really a game so much that we have obstacles now. We cannot run through them. We cannot shoot through them. But it gets pretty boring pretty fast. There's not much to do. After you get over the fun of bouncing bullets off of things, we don't have a lot. So let's start putting in some enemies. I'm going to start just by making an enemy class, and then we are going to give it abilities. I think that for this video, we'll just create the enemy class, make it spawn, if I can use that word, just make it appear on the screen, and then we'll make it shootable as well, so we can knock them off and remove them from the list. So I think that'll be a good place to start for today. And probably that's what we're going to do for this whole lesson. So we'll start by making a new class. So as we've been doing, this is sort of the theme of our new project is to when we make a new class, we extend the game object class. So we're going to make enemies, and they're going to extend game object, which is pretty fantastic. So just as a reminder, what does that mean? So if we extend game object, that means that it's built upon the foundation of the game object class. It means it already gets all these variables. It has access to these constructors, although it needs its own constructor. And it gets these functions as well. It gets all these functions that we can either just use straight up without typing them again, or we can build on top of them. So that's fantastic. That saves us a lot of time. We still do have to make the constructor though, so we'll make a constructor. And what should this constructor do? Well, I guess it should just kind of show up. our enemies can just kind of show up. Where should they go? Let's see. I guess we'll make our enemy sort of randomly spawn somewhere on the screen. So if I was to look at my game object constructors, I could tell it to show up, for example, here, and to give it a color. What should my color be? Maybe I'll make them pink or orange. Maybe I'll make them orange. I think that seems like a good color. So I'm going to call this constructor here. So I'm going to say from my enemy, if I want to call game objects constructor, I use the super keyword. And I'm going to send it an X, a Y, a size, an HP, and a color. So I actually, do I know the location? I guess I do. I want it to be random. So I'll choose a random X coordinate, somewhere between 0 and width. I'll choose a random, for Y, I'll choose a random Y coordinate from 0 to height. I will choose, oh, what's next? I forgot. Size? How big is my player? I think I'm the same size. Our players are size 20, so I'll do that. Here, hit points. I'll just give them 1 hit point, and the color will be orange. Okay. Right now, the show and act functions, I'll just leave the same. It's Vx and Vy 0, so I'll just not really do anything. So I'll just test to see if they show up out there in the world. Where should I put my enemies? I guess I need to put them in the world. So just because I made a class doesn't mean enemies will start showing up. It's possible to create them now. Just like, if you have a blueprint, it's possible to build the thing, but you actually have to go and do the building. So let's go and do that building. I'm going to go to my, let's actually do this as a dynamic thing. Let's make them sort of appear every so often. So in the game function, here's where I am sort of animating all the objects. This is where the marionette is like pulling the strings of all the different things, the bullets, the player, whatever it is, it's making all that go. So in addition, maybe I'll put like a little spawning thing here. So I'll just make a new enemy every, second maybe. Maybe it seems a little bit fast, but it'll be fine. They don't do anything mean yet. So how do I make a new enemy? So the way I would make a new enemy is objects.add new enemy. Enemy. Now that would make one every frame, so that would make 60 enemies a second, because void game is being called by the draw function, and that's the frame rate. Let's just see what that looks like. So many enemies, they're just appearing everywhere. It's a little excessive and sucks. So or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's cool. So I don't know. I'm fine. I would like to be able to figure out how fast to spawn them though. So instead of doing it every frame, maybe we could do it, every 60th frame. So how do I know if 60 frames have elapsed? So the easiest way to do that is to look at the frame count variable. See how it turned pink there? That means it's a built-in variable, just like mouse X or the key variable in the key pressed function. These are built-in variables that are kept track of by processing. So this keeps track of what frame are we on. When it begins, I believe the first frame is frame 0. And then just increases every time a new frame is drawn. So I can just say, hey, if frame count is a multiple of 60, unfortunately there isn't an is a multiple of operator. That doesn't exist. But what we can do to figure out if a number is a multiple of it, we can divide it by that number and see if the remainder is 0. Like if you're trying to figure out if a number like is 60 a multiple of 5. Yes, it is, because it divides. If you divide 60 by 5, you get 12 and no remainder, right? So there is an operation that lets you check the remainder when you divide by a number. It is the modulus. It looks like percent, has nothing to do with percent. It's pronounced modulus, or mod is something that people often call it. And then you could divide by a number. So I want to see if it's a multiple of 60. And it doesn't return the answer, it returns the remainder. So if the remainder is 0, that means this is either the 60th frame or the 120th frame or the 180th frame or so on. It's some multiple of 60 frame. So then I can add only when that's true. I'll put some braces around here because you never know what else I want to do. So let's see now. Did it work? So, yep, they're appearing at a rate of about 1 per second. Some of them are hiding inside of there. I can't quite get to them. The other ones are doing fine. So let's, now that we have them sort of randomly appearing, then I'll just add this in here. This is our spawn code. And this is our game engine code. I'll just put these in. So now that we have them randomly spawning, let's make them do something. So I'm going to go back to the enemy class, and I'd like to, give them more actions. So what I'll do is I'll override the act function. I'll give the enemy a new act function, which will, override whatever was in game object. I still want to do those things. I'll say super.act. I kind of don't really, they don't move yet, but maybe someday they'll move. So I'll just stick that in there just in case. And then what should their action be? Probably checking for collisions with bullets right now. I just want them to be shootable. So what I'll do is I'll have them check for collisions. Well, actually, now that I think of it, maybe that's not the best place to put it. Maybe it'd actually be better to put that code in the bullet itself. I mean, the bullet's already checking to see if it's colliding with things, right? Maybe I can just add an additional if statement. The bullets are already checking to see if they're hitting obstacles. Why don't we also see if they're hitting enemies too? So that can be an additional if. So I'm going to do that inside of the bullet class. Sorry to be jumping around. I think that's a good idea though. So in the bullet class, you'll remember that every bullet is looping through, checking to see if they're touching stuff over and over again. So I'll just check to see if object.instance of enemy. So now, while my while loop is going through all the objects, hey, did I get an enemy? If so, I'll check to see if I'm hitting it. So that's basically this code right here. That's the same if statement we've been using for a while. So I'll say, hey, is it an enemy? And hey, am I touching it? In other words, hey, I guess I have, I guess I have a collision with a bullet. So I can just set the enemy's HP. I'll say minus minus. I'll decrease it by 1. I think that's fine for now. That should automatically kill them because they only have 1 hit point. So now my bullets are actually doing the detection. Alright, let's run. Let's see if that works. So there's some spawning. I'll go over to this one here and I'll shoot him. Oh! Bullseye! I hit the X instead of the character. Oh, oh dear. Okay, I gotta go over. I just go to the bottom. Okay, here we go. Ready? Pew! Yeah, he went away. Pew! 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 All right, it looks like it's working. I could probably just knock them all out just by ridiculous amounts of spraying of yellow bullets in all directions. Yeehaw! That one I might be able to get, but there's still some problems you can see. I mean, first of all, we've made them like killable now. Enemies can be defeated, but it's not that exciting yet because they're not really a challenge. You know, they're not really doing anything that that make us excited or interested. So in our next video, which we'll probably do next class, I don't think we'll do it today, is going to be making the enemies do something dangerous that will maybe cause us to lose the game, and that'll start creating an actual sort of tension to the game so that you're not just, you know, marveling at bullets bouncing is basically the name of the game right now. Okay, so I hope that lesson made sense. Just a quick recap. We made our enemy class. We, in our game, added the spawning code for making new enemies, and we taught our bullets to check to see if they're touching enemies, in which case they should kill the enemies. Okay, there you go. That's the story for that. I hope you learned lots today, and I hope you're doing well at home, and it was nice to get to talk to you, and we'll see you next class. Bye, everybody.